Hello everybody, I'm Jeanette and you're visiting the Neal's Homestead. 4 days ago I brought home 2 gallons of milk from a farm that's not too far from me. It's raw milk that I strained into jars, let cool overnight, took the cream off the top, made butter in a video that just before this one, and then I put 1 of the gallons in this pan. It's been 3 days since it's been in this pan, and I set it without any kind of culture or starter or anything that would be added to it that would cause it to curdle or clabber, whichever word you prefer. And it actually was curdled yesterday, but I decided to wait another day, and today is the day I'm going to be making cottage cheese out of this. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. When milk curdles on its own, what happens is that the sugar in the milk joins with the bacteria that's naturally occurring in the milk, and it turns into acid. The sugar modifies and turns into acid that causes the proteins of the milk solids to join together and the proteins of the whey part or the clear part to separate from it. Using my clean hand, I'm just going to put my finger down in here and lift it up. See how the curd breaks? You can see the curdleness. The curd is a solid piece of milk that's been separated from the waters that are in it. Now there's still some water in the curd, but what we're going to do next is cut the curd apart so that the whey can get in between, in the middle, and then we're going to heat it up and gradually cook the curd. Now I'm aiming for somewhere between a 1/2 and a 1/4 inch cuts in here, and first I'll go straight down and just make vertical cuts across, all the way across. After we cut it all the way across, go in one direction, I have to go across and do the same thing perpendicular to all of these cuts. Now what we have is some little columns of cheese curds in there, but I need to cut it crosswise. It's really hard to do that in a pan that I can't get way down here and cut crosswise. So what I have to do is go at an angle and try to space my cuts about the same distance all the way across. Now the curds aren't going to be perfectly square doing this, but they're going to be kind of oblong diamond shape. Now I'm going to take one out, I hope, and let you see what it looks like. You can see the cut edges, and now I'm going to taste it. It tastes kind of like buttermilk. It's kind of sour, but it doesn't taste like rotten at all. It just tastes like sour cream or buttermilk. I'm showing you the top of it, and you can see that there's still some cream left in there. You have to be careful with the cream because it's a lot softer than the milk curd, than the skimmed milk curd. Now you have to let that sit for 5 minutes and rest. During that time I'm going to fill up my pan so that I can put it on the stove, because I'm going to cook it in a double boiler situation in this big pot. I have my water drawn up and on my stove, but I don't have the burner on. The temperature is at 110 degrees, and for now I'm going to leave it at 110 degrees. That's what came out of my faucet into the cool pan. The next step is a heating process, and this process kind of cooks the curd, although it doesn't really get hot enough to cook it, because we're only going to take it up to 100 degrees very, very slowly, like tediously slow, in order to get the best curd that you can. Now you can heat it up faster, and what's going to happen if you heat it too fast is those little curds, like think a cottage cheese curd, it's going to get kind of tough and squeaky and chewy, and that doesn't make for an appetizing cottage cheese. You know, cottage cheese is soft, and and flavorful and has cream on it. And so that's what we're aiming for, is a soft curd after we heat it up in this pan of water at a very slow rate. So I'm going to put my pan down in here. Now I measured carefully so that I knew the water would come to the proper level. I wouldn't want it to splash out all over the place, but if the water is up to the point right where the milk level is in the pan. Now this has to be done very slowly. What I'm going to do is take the temperature of the milk first. Now I want my milk to warm up 2 degrees every 5 minutes till we get up to 80. And then we'll go up 3 degrees every 5 minutes till we reach 90. That's the plan. I'm going to gently stir this around just to barely move the curds around, because I know that it's cooler in the middle than it is out around the edge of the pan where the pan's touching the warm water. But I don't want to do it too much because I don't want to tear the curds all up. So this is going to be just a time-consuming thing of me bringing this to the temperature that I want very slowly, and then I'm going to do that. I don't need to show you every laborious, time-consuming step of that, but I'll be right back. Without turning the burner on, I slowly let the milk get up to almost 90 degrees. And the next step needs to go a little bit faster, so I'm going to turn the burner on just very, very low. But first I'm going to check what the curd looks like and show it to you. It still looks basically the same as it did. It's very soft. I can cut it easily. I don't think anything's really happened with it as far as, I mean, I'm sure something has happened, but nothing that I can see. I'm supposed to get this curd up to 110 degrees in the next 20 minutes. Through this time period, I want to stir it more often because I don't want my curds to stick together, but I still need to be really careful because the curd is very soft. Well, I've brought the curds to what I think is 110. It's a little bit hard to know which thermometer I should trust. I've drug out several from my drawer. You know, none of them are cheap throwaway kinds, but they all disagree with each other. So I decided to trust this candy thermometer right here, and I've got it right at 110 degrees. Now I'm supposed to let it stay at 110 degrees for 20 minutes, and I'm going to stir it occasionally. Now I just want to show you, I won't stir it for a little bit, but as the curd has cooked, you can see that it's getting a little bit heavier and it's settling down to the bottom if it's left alone. Now whenever the 20 minutes is up, I should have it all settled down to the bottom whenever I quit stirring. It's a little bit suspended still, some of it. Probably some of the bigger curds are a little slower to lose their moisture and to what they call cook. Time's up and I'm stirring it for the last time. You can see that the curds have shrunk down a lot. I've tasted it a couple times and it's actually gotten a little more sour than it was in the beginning. And now I'm supposed to let it sit here for 5 minutes without stirring, and the curds are supposed to settle down to the bottom and just sit there and rest. I've set up a situation in my sink where I have a bowl to collect the whey and then a colander with a cheesecloth on it to collect the cheese curds. I'm going to try to pour it off as easily as I can. Try to get the whey off as much as I can first. See that pretty curds? Cottage cheese. The beginning of cottage cheese anyway. I guess we're about there. It's actually a little bit soft, so I hope it'll be good. After I get it poured into this, then I'm going to take my corners of my cheesecloth, gather them up so that the cheese is secure in there. And let it drain for a little bit. Just want you to see what it looks like. It's not perfectly clear. It still has some milk solids in it. After it's drained for a little bit, I'm going to run some cool water into a bowl and kind of bounce my curds up and down in a little bit to get them to rinse and wash some of the extra curd off. Now what I have to do is hang it up and let it drain for quite a while. This little towel drying rack I have right above my sink is perfect for this, because that holds it and it can just drip right into my sink. And now we're ready for the final step, and that is to take the drained curds down from their hanging place. Just remove them from the little pouch of cheesecloths that we have there. Now if I kept these together and put them in some kind of a mold and press them, I would have farmer's cheese. But today we don't want farmer's cheese. I want nice soft cottage cheese. Now the cooking that I did on this took a long time, and it was a lot of slow process. You can do it much faster by just putting the pan right on the stove on a low heat and cooking it a little bit faster. But you run the risk of getting squeaky, firm curds, and these curds are so nice and soft, and I think they'll be nice and soft just like what I get in a grocery store, which is really good. To make it good, we're going to sprinkle some salt over it. I'm probably going to use about a teaspoon of salt and stir it to distribute the salt around there. And then I have some cream here because this is fairly dry. It's not as dry as some cottage cheese I've made before, but this is fairly dry and it won't be quite as good. So we pour cream over the top of it to help it be moist. And I just stir it around. So I've got a bowl. I'm going to take some out and see how it tastes. Okay, let's see. That tastes really good. It's a little different than store-bought. It's got a little bit different flavor. It's smooth. It's really smooth, and it's, you know, I put the cream in it, but I wouldn't call it creamy, but I just call it smooth. It's not firm at all, and it tastes great. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So that's my lesson on cottage cheese making from raw milk. Thanks for joining me, and watch for the next raw milk video. Bye. But I'm satisfied, tickled too, just to be